fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back to the channel, Star Trek Fleet Command fans. Today, we're going to be talking about temporal artifacts, which ones you should focus on, how exactly they work, and why the Eye of the Ra is the one you want to go after. Wow, I spoiled the entire video in the first 30 seconds. It's great. It's good content. So go ahead and like the video. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do my full pull here and see what I get. Got me 5 more Prime Orbit medallions. That's good. Free to play sourcing for some primes, but I also get these temporal disruptors. Now, the question a lot of people are asking are, well, what are we supposed to be spending our temporal disruptors on? I'll go ahead and give you a great hint that all of the content creators agree on. It's this one. Literally the 600 you get every day, so your daily drip, plus if you're full pulling, need to go to the Eye of Ara. And they probably need to go to that for the near/foreseeable future. It can kind of vary based on. And so my alliance are actually running armadas right now, regular armadas, because this is actually breathe a little bit more life into the armada system, because this is going to allow you to progress through all of your armadas and all your, artifacts a lot quicker, and maybe even incentivizes y'all to go start doing some of the uncommon and rares, which we're doing right now to help get some of those other artifacts. Let's talk about how temporal artifacts have changed the game. To do that, let's start with all of them. These are all the brand new temporal artifacts, the uncommons, the rares, and the epics. And they all have different uses and different, reasons that might be valuable to you. One thing about the temporal artifacts I want to point out is that their value is probably going to vary or be more based on what level you are. And the reason is because they all have value. It just might not be as valuable right now, later, vice versa. Again, let me give you an example. Look at the very top. That crit chance boost for interceptors versus battleships. If you're like in the 50s, that really doesn't do anything, even if you got it maxed out at 15% through the Temporal Remnants or at 9% at Tier 8. We'll explain what Temporal Remnants are in a second. But if you're a lower level player, 38, 41, that actually might have value to you because maybe you don't have as much research that affects your critical ability. But let's talk about why the Eye of Ara particularly is so good. So you can see the Eye of Ara right there on your screen. It is going to reduce the cost of all artifacts, not just temporal, but literally all artifacts across the board for your restoration and your upgrading. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable things they've actually put in the game. They did it in an uncommon instead of doing it in a rare, which feels kind of shocking because it feels like every time they add something really valuable in the game, it's an epic. But in this case, I'd argue the most valuable of the temporal artifacts is the uncommon, the Eye of Ara. Why is it that valuable? Well, let's explain how exactly the upgrade process works. So, number one, the Eye of Ara is going to, like I said, reduce. But how much does it reduce? Well, let me show you. Right here, number one, we're going to upgrade it. So how much does it cost to upgrade this thing? And how long is it going to take us to do that? Well, here's the basics of how it is per shard. And then in terms of efficiency, how long it's going to take you to do that. Right at 60 days to get it to Tier 8. So if you did your double pull every single day, you would get there right around day 60. You'd be able to say, hey, I got one of those really neat Eye of Aras. And you've got it to Tier 8, and now it's going to start needing remnants for any further upgrades. But what is that actually going to give you in terms of reduction value? Or is it going to give you any reduction value at all? That's a weird error. Anyway, your value is actually going to come, in my opinion, from what you're able to do in terms of total upgrade cost. So here's all of them. You'll notice that the rares and epics follow the formula that you're used to, where it has a high kind of unlock cost and then kind of gets cut in half. But the Eye of Ara actually doesn't do that. The Eye of Ara actually goes pretty normal rate, and then it's actually more expensive. So instead of getting your normal unlock path that you've kind of become used to, instead you're going to have to go through a grind that's a little bit heavier. That's why you've got the days to unlock right here. But the cost reductions of what it's going to give you are actually really heckin' good. Let me show you some examples of those cost reductions. So here are your normal isolytic and artifacts that you've gotten used to here in the recent months. So you'll notice the shards of each, and then with max efficiency, the Eye of Ara, how much that cuts it down. Now the early tiers, it's not going to cut it down that much, obviously, because those are early tiers. But if you look at the later tiers, especially when you get into the 10, 11, 12, you're saving quite a bit. And again, these are all things that are going to reduce grind in the game, or this is all a thing that's going to reduce grind in the game. Love these errors still existing to this day. It's wunderbar to see some of these same errors being a problem. You see me trying to launch some things in the background. Come on, Scopely, work on these. But in terms of the Eye of Ara, you can see the value immediately there. Now let's go back to the main one because I do want to talk about what I see as the most valuable. The Eye of Ara is number one, hands down. It's not close. I feel like that is the most valuable artifact to have. Like, you want to go after that. But after that, I would say that your officer boost, if you're a high level player, Nero's trident actually matters. Why does Nero's trident matter? Well, simple. Because if you are a G6 player, you need more stats. I actually was talking to Beam. He's on server 121. He's the highest player in the game. He's level 70, but he's the strongest powered player in the game right now. And he needs more officer stats to actually max out his ship below deck. So that actually could be valuable. But if you're a regular player, look at the Stone of Memory. Daily Syndicate XP claim increase, where it maxes out at 3,400, but at tier 8, before the Remnants, you see 2,350. Anything that gives us more Syndicate XP, we're going to like. Now, the Mantis is still the main way to get your extra Syndicate XP through doing your full pull of that every single day. But anything that expedites that grind as you're trying to level up your Syndicate is super valuable. And you actually come down here to the Epics, and surprisingly, I don't think the Epics are honestly that valuable. You do kind of have a nice whole health boost here, but we have so much whole health boost in the game already. I don't know how many players are actually going to focus on these because you do get to choose what temporal artifacts you go after. It's actually one of the selling points of the temporal artifacts. You get to make a choice when you're going through, okay, well, what do I spend my temporal disruptors on? And even though I've made the point that you want to be spending those mostly on the Eye of Ara to start, later on, the whole point of the Eye of Ara is to lower the cost of other things. So what do you want to go for after that? And the next step there, the next question there is going to depend on your level. So the daily Syndicate XP, I think, is immediately valuable. The Chronoton sample, I think, can be valuable for some players, but it's kind of I'm not calling it bad. I'm just saying that the Chronoton sample is not the most valuable thing that we've seen in the artifacts gallery, because by the time your cube gets there, are you really going to need the boost? It is a flat boost, but I think it's going to be kind of like, you like it, it's okay, but it's not going to be very valuable. But a couple of these others are, and again, if you're a brand new player to artifacts, like you're in the high 30s, early 40s, the crit chance boost can be valuable, but I don't really care about the wave defense one and stuff like that. I did mention a transporter pattern style of effect here, and that is these. So you get these remnants. Once you've maxed out artifacts, you're going to get the remnants, and you're going to use these to upgrade those last end tiers or those added tiers of some of these artifacts. Now, for a lot of you players, this is a long way off. Like, I have not unlocked remnants, and I won't for a while. So I got one of the players from our Discord to provide their screen so you can kind of see it and how exactly it works and see the actual refinery. Many of you might see this now. If you're watching and you've actually already unlocked that one, congratulations. That's hugely exciting. Let me know if you're already using remnants on something. But for all of you who aren't doing that, this is what it looks like, and you'll turn these in every time you get an artifact shard that is above and beyond from what you've already had. Once you've maxed them out, just as you would do an officer, and you would turn that in for something else. But again, for most of you, that's going to be a little bit out of reach at the moment. So again, going back to like the overall cost of what things are, here is your days to obtain. So we focus on the level 8 side of things simply because the remnants are a long way out for a lot of players. So your ability to actually make the choice here is going to, I don't want to use the word limited, but you are kind of limited until you get remnants. So you're going to focus on those instead. Let me go back to in the refinery, show you what I'm talking about with focusing, how you literally get to make the choice. And I do think that is a good change here with this system. I actually do kind of like that. So we're going to take this part off the screen. You're going to go to your convert, and then you're going to be able to go into your temporal restoration and say, hey, these new ones, the temporal ones, I want to go after that temporal observatory because I happen to want warp speed. I think if you're a high level player, 1,000% warp speed once it's maxed or 950 can be valuable. Maybe not the most valuable, but Lube, another one of our content creators, likes that one. Again, the watch can actually be quite valuable depending on the player for construction speed boosting to make it faster as you're progressing to the 40s and 50s. Every little bit helps. It's like having a permanent exocomp turned on. Anything that can kind of save you time in the game, like the Stone of Memory, giving you a Syndicate XP boost in that Xborg faction store in that claim. So again, all these will have value based on the level that you're at, but one thing that is universal, whether you're level 40 or level 70, is the Eye of Ara is immediately valuable because it reduces the cost of all these artifacts, whether they're temporal, whether they're isolytic, or whether the artifacts that came in with the game at the very beginning when they first launched this system. They are hands down going to all benefit from that. And then as you work on unlocking them, it makes it easier to go and do these, which apparently doing a couple of these, I got these to level up real quick. Hey, a mining rate upgrade. I don't really care about that, but I'll take any upgrades that I can. So again, one last time, the Eye of Ara, when it actually comes to upgrading the eye, it does benefit from its own ability once you are upgrading it. So I'll have it kind of here in the background. Benefits from itself, so the time it takes to upgrade it can be lowered slightly by actually upgrading its own ability. But again, about 60 days, and then you're going to be able to see those effects get pushed to all the other artifacts like this chart shows you right here. Now, we have this in my Discord for those who haven't joined it. You actually see a full chart of all these different things laid out and everything to do with artifacts in our charts channel. If you need help seeing that, please reach out to myself, one of the moderators, tag me in the Discord or in the Facebook if you need either one of these. So in terms of where you need to go, you've seen what all the abilities do. Number one for every player, Eye of Ara. After that, it really depends on where you're at. I do think that there's some value here, but the biggest value is being able to reduce the grind of artifacts completely across the board with this one. And it's an uncommon, so it's actually quite valuable, and I actually like, hey, I like that. I hope more uncommons have immediate value. Like we've gotten to a point where uncommon officers don't exist anymore, so kind of shocking to see uncommon anything have value, but this one certainly does. And as you can see, I am a little over halfway to unlocking it. All 3 days for me have gone to that. I'm going to push it as far as I absolutely can. I'm going to go ahead and do my Orb of Prosperity real quick. Like, oh, look at the artifacts just getting leveled up. But anyway, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section down below. I'll be more than happy to answer anything that you have. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with our Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Hit you on the next one. And again, if you need these graphics, hit me up on Discord or Facebook. We'll shoot them to you.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.